Good morning, YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about some exercises that provide some general strength and will really help round out your physique to improve your strength development. So these are movements that are not specific to the big power lifts, the squat, bench, and deadlift, but their inclusion in your program will only help you improve your strength in the squat, bench, and deadlift. So these are movements that when I, let's say, prioritize them, took time away from other exercises and focus them into these movements, that I actually noticed a just a better feel in my body. So I wasn't as sore, I wasn't as beat up, but progress also would ensue, or at a minimum performance would be maintained. So if my goals ever changed and I kind of wanted to focus on something else, these movements I have found helped maintain my strength even if I wasn't training specifically on certain exercises anymore. So let's get started. The first exercise that I think has a true necessity is tricep extensions. If you are trying to have your biggest, strongest bench, direct tricep work is going to be very, very beneficial to you, especially if you are a chest dominant bench presser. If you feel that your chest does get a lot of stimulus, but your arms don't really help you out nearly as much, developing stronger triceps is going to be of assistance to you. Now, direct tricep work might become less necessary if you do a lot of pressing movements. So let's say you bench twice a week, you overhead press also, and then let's say you do like dips, push-ups, or like maybe some machine pressing. In that case, you have to be a little bit more careful with your tricep extensions, mainly because you need to understand that while isolation exercises are less fatiguing, because you are getting so much indirect work and your triceps are involved in so much, the actual amount that it can handle on its own, it would not be as much as it would be otherwise. So it's something that you need to take into consideration if you're pressing all the time, if you are doing high frequency with big, heavy pressing movements. Direct tricep work might not be the best return of investment for you. However, if you are doing a more moderate frequency, a more moderate volume split, direct tricep work is going to be of great benefit to you. The two movements that I really like the most are the JM press and any type of overhead extension. It doesn't matter if it's barbell, doesn't matter if it's a dumbbell, doesn't matter if it's a cable. When you are in that position, when you are doing a tricep extension at that angle, I find that it just targets the long head a bit better, makes the elbows feel good, but at the same time helps carry over to lockout strength. And of course, having bigger triceps will really help you in your bench press, as well as overhead pressing. Now with the JM press, you can do this with a barbell, you can do this on the floor, you can do this with a Smith machine, doesn't matter, but that is a great exercise. My personal favorite is the Smith machine just because it's a bit safer, a bit easier to set up, and less risk overall, but at the same time, I do feel my triceps a lot more with that variation. The next movement that we're going to talk about, or the next exercise that will really help you on every single lift, are rows. And I mean all the rows. Croc row, dumbbell row, bent over row, pen lay row, T-bar row, chest supported row, seated cable row. It doesn't matter. Do your Baba rows. If you know where that's from, leave it in the comments below. So the reason why I think the row is the, let's say, unsung hero of the big three is the fact that the row actually has carryover to all three movements. In my opinion, anytime that I really focus on my strength development on the barbell row, or just try to put as a lot of volume into that movement, every other lift benefited. So the squat benefits from it, I would say, the least, but here's what I usually like to think about, or what I will bring up to my newer clients as to why we do the movement. For one, building up your yoke, building up your back gives the bar a much comfier place to sit on your back. If it's just, soft, fat, or just like right on your bone, it's going to be very uncomfortable. So having that mass up there to kind of help support the shelf of and give the squat bar a place to sit is going to be a much benefit. That improved level of, let's say, comfort or comfortability, whatever that word, how do you pronounce that word, whatever amount of comfort you can get in that position will benefit you as you start to develop that movement. So having that wide base, wide back, just to hold the bar will help you. Now also, because the weight is on your back, having a strong back is not a weakness. It is a strength. It's going to allow you to maintain better back angle, maintain a more stable position, maintain better form. So that is the carryover to the squat. Now what about for the bench press? For the bench press, one thing that I heard a long time ago, I'm unsure about who I heard it from, but you can't lift what you can't stabilize. I feel like that might be something from Matt Wenning, but when you build this big back, when you build a big base on the other side of your body for your pressing, what you're essentially doing is you're giving your body a bigger platform to press off of, not just the bench, but your actual muscles as well. So let's think about it, with the common saying of what do all big buildings have in common? They have a big base. So if you have a big base of mass that you can press off of, your press is going to be a lot stronger. And I find that to be the case. There's other benefits that you could bring up as well, but I don't think they are the main reason, quite honestly. Like, for example, if your back is bigger and then you have a really good form, you're decreasing the range of motion just because you have more mass on you. But I think that's worth noting, but I don't think that's the benefit of doing your rows. Now for the deadlift, generally speaking, some people are going to find that the deadlift itself is very fatiguing, but the row maybe is a bit more friendly to your general level of fitness and is less fatigue inducing, so you can get more pulling volume through a row. And then from there, you're also going to be build up the yoke. So the back is just kind of, stabilizing the weight. It's just isometrically contracting as you're doing the deadlift. But having strong traps, having a strong back is very useful for when you are doing your deadlift. It is using the entire posterior chain from top to bottom. Obviously, the main movers are the glutes, hamstrings, and the lower back if you are pulling conventional. However, having a stronger base of support is always going to be a benefit, especially with the squat, bench, and deadlift. Next, we have the reverse curls and hammer curls. For the longest time, I kind of neglected bicep work just because I really did buy into that idea that, oh, you can just build big arms with compound movements. And I no longer subscribe to that idea. And the two versions of the curl that I think you should start to include immediately if you have bought into this are reverse curls and hammer curls. Reason being is because I know for a fact, if you are the kind of person who thinks to themselves, I can just build big arms with compound movements, you have a minimalistic mindset, you have a mindset that is focused on, well, why don't I just do something that's efficient? Why am I doing this? You need to have a very concrete reason to do this. So here's why you need to focus on this. If you do reverse curls and hammer curls, right, you are getting bicep development. Bicep development is really good for when you are trying to improve your leverages on the bench press. But also, these movements really do help protect the elbow joint and the tendons. So when you are doing a hammer curl or reverse curl, your forearms are getting more involved, and having stronger forearms will lead you to having better longevity when you're doing your pressing. And generally speaking, whenever I ran into issues where my elbows just felt really uncomfortable, reverse curls and hammer curls were always very friendly on the elbow itself, but also I found that the longer I spent with those movements, the better my elbows felt over time. Next, shrugs and loaded carries. Same thing that I mentioned with the rows. You want to build the yoke. So with the shrug, for one, having just big traps will always look pretty good. And then also, when it comes down to the deadlift, just having some more muscle to support you holding the weight while you're executing the lift is of a benefit. Loaded carries will do this as well. Farmer's carries with dumbbells, a trap bar, or if you have actual implements, will always benefit you, and there's a fitness component being thrown in there as well. Hamstring curls serve a very similar purpose as do the reverse curls and hammer curls, where they just try to protect the knee joint. And one other benefit is the fact that they do build the hamstrings with much less fatigue than you would get from any other, let's say, movement. Reason being, what are the other movements that will really build up the hamstrings? Romanian deadlift, stiff leg deadlift, the conventional, sumo, good mornings. These are all very good free weight exercises, but because of the nature of how they're executed and the amount of weight you'll be able to lift on them, they have a greater level of full body fatigue. Whereas the hamstring curl, you're on a machine, you're using bands or whatever setup you have to jerry rig to get up in there. That sounded wrong, but it's not as nearly fatiguing as any of those free weight movements, so you're still able to drive more volume into that muscle, build that muscle, and then as you continue with your strength training, you become more efficient in using it, and then that is good. Reverse flies. This serves a very similar purpose to the rows and the shrugs. We're just having a bigger base of muscle to press off of is going to benefit your bench press. And also, one thing that is really important to understand about any of these exercises is that they all are trying to promote balance. If you only do the squat, bench, and deadlift, you are going to develop many imbalances that are going to lead to injuries. Overuse injuries, or just, you know, like certain muscles are pulling more so than others on the joints and the connective tissues, and that's going to feel very uncomfortable. It's going to make training very difficult. One thing that's really important to understand is that balance improves longevity, and longevity improves strength. The person who lifts the longest gets the strongest. Really keep that in mind. That's why you can't run these minimalist programs for too long, and you need to include these other things just to balance out everything. Finally, the last part of general strength, general fitness that I think is super important if you are whether a bodybuilder, power lifter, power builder, it doesn't fucking matter. If you can't do a push-up, I don't give a fuck how much you bench press. If you can't do a pull-up, I don't care. If you can pull double your body weight on a deadlift, but you can't do that on a pull-up, I really don't give a fuck. Dips, same thing. It doesn't matter if you can move just a bar, you can go to your gym, look at any fat guy, lift his body weight, and yes, it's a lot of weight because it's his body weight, but you ask him to do a push-up, you ask him to do a dip, he can't do it. Don't be that guy. I'm very heavy, but I can still move my body through space because I just have built a background with calisthenics, as well as my time in the military, where that was basically all we did every single morning. So that is going to keep you balanced, that is going to keep you well-rounded. These are all things that are going to indirectly support your strength in the squat, bench, and deadlift. So these are things you need to include into your program and throw them in as productively and responsibly as you can. And we are going to make, well, I am going to make as much videos to kind of help you with that, but there are already videos on the channel to kind of show you how that's all put in together. But this is why I truly dislike minimalist programs. You need to have balance. You need to promote balance in your program, and you do that by having a base of general strength and then build upon that toward your goals of specific strength in the squat, bench, or deadlift, or whatever goals you do have. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Karel King, stanstrength.com. We have t-shirts, so there's a bunch of free programs that are going up onto the website. Please, I really would appreciate your support. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, subscribing. And if you aren't subscribed already, please do subscribe. But a lot of the content that I am putting out, is free. A lot of the programs I'm putting out is free. So if you could just kind of support the channel by buying merch, or there is a cheap donation option available on my website as well. And I would really appreciate that also. So thank you so much. Have a great day.